going on, everybody? I am Lo Silva. This is Kent Clothier, and this is the Freedom Strategies podcast. Today, we have kind of a Q&A on both sides episode. Obviously, I do a lot of e-commerce stuff. Kent does a lot of real estate. We do a lot of other things as well. But we wanted to kind of quiz each other, ask each other questions, because we get a lot of people to ask us questions that if we can address here and kind of just have some topical conversations on both the benefits, risks, situations. If you're a new entrepreneur or you're in either space or want to jump into these spaces, I think this episode will serve you very, very well.
All right, so let's talk for a minute. I'm going to ask you some questions and you can ask me some questions, right? So let's talk about e-com. First off, what is it?
So e-commerce is basically, essentially you could say that it's like selling anything online, right? But for the most part, we talk about direct-to-consumer, selling physical products on the internet.
Okay, so, and you're talking about Shopify, Amazon.
Yeah.
Those are the two biggest players?
Yeah.
Okay. So walk me through a typical scenario of how somebody would get started in e-com.
So
like the average person watching this has never done it. Like for me, I've never done e-com. Go ahead.
So most people will, nowadays with so much information out, they will get started with drop shipping. Which I don't necessarily recommend. I actually don't recommend it. I think it sucks. But most people will get started with that. And so what drop shipping is you go to a site. It's an example. It's basically arbitrage, right? You go to like Alibaba.com. You find shoes. They're pretty cool. You can get them for $20, and then you build a website. You sell those shoes with a brand, and you kind of like make a logo and make a pretty website, and you flip those shoes for $89, right? And so you start to sell, and you basically get your stuff from China. There's some you can get from America, and it ships like, all right, boom, I'm buying it.
They ship it directly to your customer.
I'm holding no inventory, so it goes direct from here to there.
Okay,
right?
So you're supplying the transaction, they are supplying the product and operations, right?
If it gets very big, then you start holding inventory. You don't have to, but you can start holding inventory. You can start putting your own logo on stuff and really turning things
But even in that case, Amazon will hold the inventory for you.
If you did it with Amazon,
Correct.
And you chose to do it with them that way, they do take a 30% rip.
For doing that.
Yeah, but I mean, it'll double your sales as well. Here's the secret about e-commerce that not a lot of people want to tell you, because you see all these, gurus and whatever. They're like, oh, I made $1 million. People think like, all right, I made $1 million. It is a very tight margin business for the most part, especially if you're getting started. The average e-com company, direct consumer, is going to make a 10 to 15% margin total, right? And so you really have to make.
So you sell $1 million to make $100,000.
You make it $100,000, which is cool. I look at, because we do a lot of other things as well, and so I look at e-com as a savings account, not a checking account. And the reason is you can sell an e-commerce company. Like we sell digital products, we sell coaching, consulting. You can't really sell that as a company. You're not gonna get a big valuation off that. But if I have a product that's sold, let's say, shoes, and I'm selling them on Amazon and on Shopify, and then I can get into retail, into a Nordstrom's. Now I have multiple channels. That increases my valuation. I have a personal, that is a brand itself, and so you can get significant multiples. And then in a few years, you can sell that company for high 7, multiple 8 figures, even 9 figures, right? And so that's why I consider it a savings account. If you need to go make money tomorrow, for starters, I would get a job. I wouldn't tell people, because everyone's always asking us, like, what do I do if I got to make money tomorrow? Go get a freaking job, dude, because you can't just do things off the riff like that. That's just not real, right? But if I had to do something, I would have something and then my e-com business on the side, because the big thing with e-commerce is the more you scale, the more inventory you have to hold, or the more
costs go up.
Yeah, costs go up, not down, right? Until you hit like a certain mark, and that's in the $1 million a month plus type of situation.
So why is e-com the hot trend right now? Why are so many people out there talking about it? Why is now the time?
So, I look, it's how you look at the business, right? Like you could have a quick little dropship business that does produce you at the end of the day, like $100,000 a month or something, and you're making $10,000 and you're, 26 in doing that. And that is very lucrative. There's a lot of allure to that. Like it's very exciting. What people, again, don't tell you is if you have a drop shipping product, and I found out I can do it now, and now I'm more competitive. Your cost per acquisition goes up. I'm stealing all your information because you don't really have a company, you don't have anything, you're ripping something from someone, so I rip it from you, and so that makes it very, very narrow. So you can, it's a roller coaster income. Oh, this product made 50 grand. Oh, it doesn't sell anymore because there's 12 of them. Oh, this product made 100. Oh, we can't sell that anymore. So like, it's just not consistent. And for me, the age I'm at, like things I've gone through, like I just want consistency. I want brands. I want to keep building things, right? But I understand why people want to jump into that. You're also
Well, let me back up. Let me just add something because what you're talking about is a highly transactional business, okay, which is what e-com is, versus where you are now, which is actually building value, building assets, right? And so I think it's important that people understand that the e-com business is, at least what you're explaining, is transactional, right? This is, yeah, you can make money. You're buying one thing and selling it for a higher price, period, right? And there the systems, the websites, the processes for ordering, all that stuff has become highly, highly automated and integrated now, which makes it fairly simple for people to get involved, right? Yeah. But it's a transactional business. To your point, one day it could be here, the next day it's gone.
Unless you really put time into it, right? Like I have a group where we do coaching consulting services for that with my partner who owns a Snow Teeth Whitening, right? And he went in methodically and said, this is going to take me a long time. I'm going to see what products I can disrupt. You know, we're talking about, me and him have been talking about building a skincare line for men specifically. Very specific targeted, very specific products. We would launch it in a very specific way. If you go into it with like a real like concept of what you want to do, you could, you know, go get funding. You could really grow that into a brand. And I think that is...
Well, then you're building an asset.
Then you're
now you're not transactional.
Exactly.
Right? So it just kind of, you pick your path.
Mm-hmm.
Coming in low and early like that, it may get you to a good understanding, but again, it's transactional.
Mm-hmm.
Doing what Josh does is, and what you guys do is thinking about it from a building an asset that ultimately could be sold down the
Assets have valuation, transactions have expiration.
There you go.
Well, I killed that.
All right.
All right, so let's talk about real estate.
Hashtag that bitch.
One of the big things that just honestly changed my life yesterday was talking to Kent about some stuff with real estate. I have been considering it and stuff like that, and you know, we talked about the best way, if you are an entrepreneur and you're becoming a more successful entrepreneur, the reality is you're gonna have to pay taxes, a lot, right? If you don't have a good CPA, that's a whole other thing. But I was talking to him, I'm like, man, there's gotta be a way that I can do everything the right way, and he explained how it is. So, you know, let's kind of talk, because everyone knows you do real estate, so I don't want to ask like basic real estate questions. For entrepreneurs that are growing, how do entrepreneurs start saying, okay, I'm making some income, things are working, how do I now move that into real estate? What are the best ways to do so?
Well, first off, you have to take a step back and understand that there's multiple advantages to real estate, right? Probably the single biggest is that you can go and invest in a very passive way. You can invest in a cash flowing asset. So you're buying, and you can do it with leverage, which, think about it. You can't go buy a stock with leverage. You can't go, you know, it just doesn't happen. There's not many investments where the bank's going to give you 75% of the money, no questions asked, right? But that absolutely happens every day in real estate, and the government underwrites all those loans. And so here you are, you can go and buy a $150,000 house in markets all over the country. And the government's going to give you the government's going to give you 75%. You're going to basically have to put $30,000 to $35,000 down. So $30,000 to $35,000 goes to work immediately, controlling a $150,000 asset. This asset is going up in value, theoretically, each and every year, 1% to 3% appreciation on a home. Then you turn around and the government allows you from a tax standpoint through some careful tax planning to what is called depreciate the asset. So you can turn around and not only is it going up in value, but from a tax standpoint, the government is allowing you to write off parts of the value of that asset each and every year. Normal circumstances, it would be about 3% a year. You can do some accelerated depreciation kind of in the first few years. That could basically get you 25 to 75%, somewhere in that neighborhood, right? Depending on who you are. And so there are massive tax advantages, right? So if you're sitting in there a situation and you know what your tax bill is going to be, this is why you'll see a ton of investment real estate moves in the fourth quarter. Why? Because smart people realize that they have a tax problem, right? And so they will go acquire these assets. I can go acquire a $150,000 asset with only $30,000. So rather than give the government the 30, in April, I will come in October. go put the 30 to work, control a $150,000 asset, be able to accelerate the depreciation on that, basically creating a tax advantage almost immediately that I can take advantage of in April. But then, by the way, while all that's happening, I also get the advantage of somebody else is sitting in that property, paying me rent every month that not only covers all my debt, but makes me a few bucks each and every month. So I have an asset that's going up, I have massive tax advantages, and somebody else is paying for it over and over and over again. It is, if you know what you're doing, or if you align yourself with people that know what you're doing, there's nothing like real estate when it comes to building wealth. And I completely believe that, right? And there are so many different ways to do it. What I just explained was a very simple, straightforward way to get involved in, what we call cash flowing properties, right? Whether it's single family or multifamily. But if you're making a ton of money, there's all kinds of ways to go out there and get involved where you actually can become the bank and go off and effectively buy a $50,000, $100,000 house, pay all cash for it, then turn around and be the bank. Now, the person that buys the house from you is no longer a renter; they're the owner, right? So think about it. If you go, when you pay a bank every month for your house right now, but when you pay the bank, it's your house. You're responsible for taxes, insurance, you're responsible for all expenses. The bank is sitting there saying, "This is a great deal. We gave this cat $500,000, and over 30 years, he's going to pay that $500,000 back to us at, let's just call it 6% interest, right? And so in 30 years, this $500,000 note we wrote out to this guy, oh, and by the way, we gave him $500,000, but the asset was really worth $750, whatever, right? But over 30 years, that $500,000, do you know what you'll end up paying? Have you ever actually looked at it?
No.
It'll be closer to probably $1.5 million, right? So they're going to triple their money over they're going to get the bank is basically getting on you somewhere in the neighborhood of about anywhere from 15 to 25 points on your money every year, and it just keeps coming. It's the perfect investment for a bank because they're like, we're not over leveraged. Somebody pays us for money that's not even ours. We're taking the money from you and passing it out the door to them, all right? And then number three, we are insured on the property. If your house burns to the ground, the bank's going to get paid before you get paid, okay? And then, again, we're sitting there and we don't have to pay, as a bank, any of the taxes, any of the insurance, that's all you. So imagine if you or I, like you got $100,000 laying around, let me go buy a $100,000 piece of property, go sell it to somebody with seller financing in place for $125,000. And I'm going to tell you why this is really important in just a second. $125,000. Well, now that $125,000, I make them put down the same 20%. So they got to give me $25,000. I get $25,000 on my 100 immediately, right? So I just got a 25% return immediately. Right. I have a $75,000 balance. They're going to pay me that that $100,000 balance over the course of the next 30 years. They're going to give me an addition. I'm going to get $300,000 back, plus the 25. Yeah. Right, on something I paid $100 for, and then I'm only in it for 75 now. It is shocking why this is relevant. Why would I even bring this up right now? Because in uncertain times, when the economy starts to do what it's doing right now, banks get jittery, right? Credit starts to pull way back. And when you have a credit problem, what happens is the banks will not loan to self-employed entrepreneurs, 1099 people. If you can't have verifiable income, right, they're not going to loan you the money. So the moment they do that, they take about 35% of the borrowers directly out of the market. So these are great people. These are people just like everybody in this office. This is just like us, right? Yeah. I got money. I got credit. You don't want to do anything with me. Nope. You know where they're going to turn? These kinds of deals. So if you have the cash to go and pick up a property and then turn around and talk to guys just like us and say, dude, here you go. I'll be the bank all day long. I'll charge you 8% interest.
Yeah, it's a killer move.
Put 20% down. I'll sit here happy as a fat cat. You can give me my $10,000 a year just forever, right? And if you sell the house, I get paid off first. Yeah. I mean, real estate is amazing if you'll just take a little bit of time.
Now, you have a challenge right now called the Find and Flip Challenge.
Right.
Right. Let's talk, because that's more for beginners. Everyone here is a little bit more advanced at the beginning. Let's take it back to the beginners, if you're like, man, this sounds crazy, how do I even get started? Let's talk about the Find and Flip Challenge and how you can get started on that and what that is.
Yeah, so the Find and Flip Challenge, which we do, periodically, every few weeks, we'll take, anywhere from 500 to 1,000 people through a challenge. They get to spend 5 days with me, and I break down exactly how to get involved in real estate at the most basic remedial level, where with no experience, how you can come in and actually start making money, right? So again, I've given you 2 places you can make money. A third would be this, where it is a process that we call wholesaling, right? And wholesaling is really simple. Most people have no idea that I, with no money, can go directly across the street, any of these houses, and make an offer, right? Somebody's sitting there, they're going through a divorce, whatever the case may be, they're just looking to get out. I hate him, I hate her,
family.
Whatever it is, get me out of this house, come in, pay me all cash. Yes, I'll sell it at a discount. I just want out. I don't have time to list it. I'm not going to sit here for 90 days. Okay. So those situations happen every day, all across the country, doesn't matter.
Right.
And so I can come in there and sign a contract with them and say, I will pay you all cash for your house. Clearly that's worth $300, but I'm going to offer you $220. And I'm going to close that in the next 30 days. But I want 14 days of a grace period here. 14 days where I basically can walk away for any reason, okay? It's what we call an inspection clause. They sign it, okay? I have no money in the deal. I just have a contract. Now, that contract, the best analogy I can give you is it's like a lottery ticket. Because if I walk across the street and I buy a lottery ticket and I scratch it off and it's worth $1 million, right? Probably the very next thing I'm going to do is find me a safety deposit box, right? To go put this bitch in, right? Because clearly the ticket has the value.
Right.
Until I get the money, the ticket is the most valuable thing. The exact same thing is true in wholesaling. The moment I sign that contract, it's the ticket, right? Here's what's valuable. I have a $300,000 house that I have the right to buy for $220. So there are thousands of investors in every single market that are like, I can't find deals. Kent's got a deal. Kent's got something right here. He can buy a $300,000 house for $220.
It's arbitrage.
It's arbitrage. I'm going to give you $10,000 to take your place in that contract, Kent. So I sign a piece of paper and a contract that says I'm going to assign my interest in this contract, this lottery ticket, to you for 10 grand. Okay? Both of those go to the attorneys. 30 days later, you show up with $230,000. 220 goes for my original contract, 10 goes to me. I've had no money in the deal. All I did was I was smart enough to go get a property under contract at a discount and flip the contract. That's how people make 10 grand over and over. I mean, this happens millions of times a year. It is a highly lucrative business, and done correctly, there's almost zero risk, because here's what's even nicer. Anytime in that 14 days, if I don't find my lows, if I don't find somebody to buy the contract,
you got the clause.
I'm out.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not executing.
Yeah.
I can't do this. I just controlled a $300,000 asset for 14 days for no money.
Yeah.
That's wholesaling.
We're going to put everything down here on the show notes for the 5-day challenge as well. So just click down, and if it's not going on live when the time you see this, just join the waiting list and it'll redirect to that.
Cool.
Awesome, guys. So that's it for today. Make sure you like, share, join the notifications, subscribe, do everything.
Do it all.
Tell your mom about it.
Just do it all, man.
Yeah, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Peace.